These are the Gawds Tim Franken skates. They retail for around $350 US. The Gawds Tim Franken are based on the USD VII, a classic hardshell boot from USD. They come with MyFit Prime liners, Kizer Fluid IV frames, and Gawds 60mm wheels, antirocker. The sole plates come directly from the USD VII, with a wide sole and shallow royale groove. I took them to my local skate park to see how they feel.
Alright, so these are a size 44. They are the 43-44 shell, and my foot is 28.5 centimeters. Fit is fine. You know, if anything, they're very roomy. I feel like there's a lot more length, so if you had a narrow foot, but you were like a size 11, I bet you could downsize into this 43-44 boot. Because there's plenty of room forward and back. I can wiggle my toes with no problems, not hitting anything up there. Very generous. Width-wise, feels good. Maybe like a normal width. I would say maybe a little bit wider than normal, but definitely feels good. I have a fairly normal D width foot, and I don't have any issues here. Some weirdness with these liners. I don't know what it is, but I'm getting some digging into the top of my toes where the tongue connects to the liner itself. Not a good feeling. These liner tongues are from the USD Carbon, which is a single piece design. Maybe this tongue isn't designed for mounting with a removable liner, but it's definitely wiggling around a lot, and I could feel it kind of digging in, kind of like the stock racers liners. Definitely not a good feeling. I'm having some weird forward flex problems. These boots, I've tightened the laces as much as I can. I've tightened the buckles as much as I can before my feet start hurting, and I can still flex super far forward. The lacing system, much improved. I love the little eyelets that have the little hooks that slide through. You can pull from the top and you get zero resistance. Pull them tight, tie them tight, and they'll stay tight. This is much better than the cross-section style that they do with most boots. Yeah, these were great to get tight, and I felt like I could see that boot suck my foot in a little bit, and I don't have any issues in the front half of my boot. It's really just the back half where the cuff is that's causing me some weirdness. All right, let's try some grinds. All right, sole tricks are fine. I didn't expect them to be difficult. It's a USD VII sole plate and Kizer Fluid IV frame, so I'm very familiar with this setup. I am getting a lot of wiggle inside this boot. It feels like my foot is just floating around inside here. I don't know if it's the liner. Like, I'm getting a little bit of heel raise, which is weird because this liner has those little dots that keep the heel in the back of the boot. I'm hesitant to blame the liner on this, but I don't know what else has changed, you know? Like, the USD VII was a great skate. I had absolutely no issues with it, and now this is different, so we'll see how groove tricks feel. But yeah, I'm feeling like there's a little bit more wiggle than I'd like with this liner and boot combination, so I might swap out the liner for the next session. All right, no problems with groove tricks. They're a Fluid 4 with a USD VII sole plate. This is, you know, my most comfortable setup. So definitely wasn't as low as I'd like to be, but that's just the way that this setup is. If you want to get boot down, you have to get super low, which is great for learning. I would probably swap it out for a slightly taller frame just so that I could get a little bit lower. It's just a little bit more comfortable for me, but it's all personal preference. The wiggle inside this boot is definitely annoying. Like, I feel like my foot's just moving around so much in there. I don't know what's going on. It's just, I feel like I need to swap out this liner with a stock liner that came with the USD VII and see if I could figure out if it's the boot that's changed or if it's just the liner, because I had no issues skating the USD VIIs. I don't remember any of this flop, but again, it's been a few years, so maybe me being used to a single piece like a USD Carbon or like the Gawds FM3 has changed my perspective on plastic shell boots with a removable liner, but this definitely isn't it. All right, so they work for topsides. I am the first person to admit that my topsides suck. I haven't done topsides on a ledge in a long time, so take everything with a grain of salt, but didn't have any problem flexing over. Been skating a lot of my box at home, and I will do some more topsides on that box just to see if I can land it, but yeah, I think they work. Maybe a little bit stiffer than I would like, but you know what? Me not being good at topsides, it's really hard to have a judgment on it. I think they're fine. The big sole plate definitely keeps me from slipping out. I never fell, so that's a good thing. I do feel like lower frame might counteract that and make it more difficult to get boot down or flat with my frame, but again, not an expert.
After the first session, I swapped out the liner with the MyFit Fat Boys that came in the USD VII. Immediately, I could tell that the stock Prime liners were too thin for this boot to fit my feet properly. Eventually, I upgraded to MyFit Crown liners for the best experience possible. I really loved the way these fit my feet. The Gawds Tim Franken should have been perfect out of the box. They're my favorite hardshell boot with minor cosmetic updates. Unfortunately, the stock liner made them too big for most people expecting the USD VII fit. It was easy enough to swap in thicker liners, but they shouldn't have messed with a good thing. Otherwise, I love the skates, and I think they're one of the best plastic shell boots on the market. With an internal shock absorber and a nice wide sole plate, you can't beat their function. However, at $350 US and potentially needing to swap out the liners to get the right fit, I'd wait for version 2.